I don't know why I went back. Maybe it was nostalgia, maybe stupidity, or maybe I just wanted to feel something other than the numb detachment that had followed me since my brother drowned here. Crystal Wave Water Park had once been paradise. Long summers, chlorinated air, sunburns, and slushies. My brother Josh and I spent nearly every day here when we were kids. But that was before the accident. Before he vanished beneath the waves of the wave pool and never came back up. They called it a tragic drowning. No foul play, the papers said. But I was there. I saw his face before it happened, twisted, panicked, like something had grabbed him, pulled him under. That was 5 years ago. The lawsuits came after. Families blamed faulty drains, poor lifeguard response, negligence. The park was shut down and left to rot. And yet, I kept dreaming about it. The wave pool, the lifeguard chair, that final splash. So last night, I jumped the fence. It was just past midnight. I carried a flashlight, a flask, and my own guilt like a backpack. The entrance was overgrown, weeds curling up around the faded map board. The ticket booths were covered in graffiti, smiling skulls, words like still splashing scrawled in red paint. The silence was overwhelming. No screams, no music, just the sound of wind through plastic tubes and the occasional creak of metal settling. I headed straight for the wave pool. The moment I stepped onto the cracked concrete, a chill ran through me. Not just the night air, it was deeper than that. Like the ground itself was exhaling frost. I stood at the edge of the pool. It stretched out like a concrete grave, the blue paint peeling, the surface dry and lifeless. But something about it felt wrong. Too still. Too expectant. I swear I heard a splash. I froze, scanning the darkness. Nothing moved. Then came laughter, faint, childlike, echoing from the lazy river behind me. I spun around. No one. I told myself it was my imagination. That's when I noticed the lights. Dim, flickering, coming from the top of one of the old water slides. Poseidon's Spiral. The tallest slide in the park. I knew those lights shouldn't have been working. The power was cut years ago. My feet moved before I could stop them. The climb was long. The staircase groaned under my weight. Rust flaked off the rails with every step. At the top, the air felt colder. My breath fogged in front of me, and there at the mouth of the slide, the lights flickered steadily, casting a sickly green glow down the tube. The old speaker system crackled to life. It played the park's theme song. Faint, warped, slowed down like a broken record. Then I heard it again. "Come on, hurry up!" Josh's voice. I nearly dropped the flashlight. I stepped closer to the slide, heart pounding. The inside of the tube was wet, glistening, though it hadn't rained in days. I should have turned back, but instead I sat down. The moment I touched the plastic, it pulled me. Not gravity, something else, a force, as if the slide had opened its throat and swallowed me whole. I tumbled through darkness. There were no twists, no turns, just a straight plunge into black. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Then, splash, I was underwater, thrashing, gasping. Cold hands brushed my ankles. I kicked, breaking the surface with a cry. I was in the wave pool, but it wasn't abandoned. Not anymore. Children splashed and laughed around me, their faces pale and too still. Their eyes were glassy, vacant. I turned and saw Josh. He stood waist-deep, smiling sadly. But he looked wrong. His skin was bluish. His shirt clung to him like it had never dried. "Why didn't you come with me?" he asked. I choked on a sob. "I didn't know," I said. "I didn't see you." He held out his hand. "It's better down here," he said. "It doesn't hurt." Behind him, the water darkened. Shapes moved beneath the surface, arms, faces, too many to count. I backed away. "No," I whispered. "You're not real. You're not." Something grabbed me from behind. Cold, strong. It pulled. I kicked, screamed, flailed, and somehow broke free, scrambling for the edge. I clawed my way out of the pool, coughing up water I couldn't remember swallowing. When I looked back, the pool was empty again. Dry. Silent. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back at the fence, my lungs burning and clothes soaked. The wave pool hasn't appeared in my dreams since. But sometimes, late at night, when I close my eyes, I hear the splash, and laughter, and Josh's voice, just a whisper saying, "It's better down here." I wasn't supposed to be there. The gates to Hope Ridge Amusement Park had been locked for over a decade, rusted chains wound tight around bent iron. But that night, something drew me there. A whisper from the past, threading its way through the dark, begging to be heard. The park was a skeleton of its former self. Weeds choked the walkways, and the once vibrant paint had peeled into long, curling strips like dead skin on a sunburn. I crept past the crumbling ticket booth, flashlight in hand, scanning for what I had come to see. The carousel. Even in its decay, it commanded attention. Faded lights ringed the canopy, many shattered, but a few still clung to life with a faint, intermittent flicker. The horses, chipped and weather-worn, seemed to watch me as I approached, their glass eyes dulled with time. But one horse stood out. Midnight black, with its head thrown back in a silent scream and silver eyes that gleamed even in the low light. Unlike the others, it had no bridle, no saddle, just wild, carved muscle and a look of feral desperation. I remembered it from the stories. They called it the Cursed Steed. I hadn't believed the tales when I was a kid. How could I? Ghosts on merry-go-rounds? But when my sister wrote it 20 years ago and never came home, the legend took root in my heart. They said she fell, that she wandered off. But I knew better. I saw the carousel spinning that night, lights flickering madly, though the rest of the park was still and silent. I had to know. I stepped onto the platform. The wooden boards groaned beneath my feet, dry and brittle like bones. The air around the carousel was different, thicker. Still, I climbed onto the black horse, my pulse pounding in my ears. I half expected the thing to buck me off. It didn't. Instead, the carousel jolted once. Then again, it came to life. The music creaked from broken speakers, warped, sluggish notes that sounded like a lullaby played backward. The horses began to move, their poles grinding as the ride spun slowly, dragging me in a wide circle. My flashlight flickered, then died. I was alone in the dark, spinning. At first, all I could hear was the strained wheeze of the calliope. Then, beneath the music, I heard something else. Laughter. Childlike, distant, but getting closer. I looked out and saw them, translucent shapes flitting between the shadows. Children. Dozens of them. Their faces were pale and empty, eyes black pits, mouths stretched in two wide grins. They circled the carousel like moths. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My hands were frozen around the pole, my legs locked in place. I wanted to jump, to scream, but my body wouldn't move. That's when I saw her, my sister. She stood just beyond the edge of the ride, watching me with the same expression I remembered from the night she vanished. Fear, confusion, sorrow. She mouthed something. "Get off." I tried to. "God," I tried. But the horse began to rise and fall faster now, the entire carousel spinning in a blur. Wind tore at my clothes. I could hear whispers all around me. "Stay. Ride forever. You belong to us now." The black horse beneath me felt alive, like it pulsed with something ancient and cruel. I could feel it feeding off my fear, and then everything stopped. No music, no wind, just silence. I blinked. The sun was rising. The carousel had halted. I was still clutching the pole, but my hands were bloodied and raw, the skin torn like I'd been gripping it for hours. I climbed off, legs shaking. My heart still raced in my chest, and every part of me screamed to run. But I looked back one last time. The horses were in new positions. Their faces were different, twisted, anguished. And the black horse? It was smiling. Its mouth had stretched into a wide, grotesque grin that hadn't been carved there before. It knew. I stumbled out of the park, never looking back. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've seen shadows in mirrors that aren't mine. Heard carousel music in the middle of the night, faint and echoing from somewhere I can't find. I don't sleep anymore. I dream of spinning, of laughter, of glass eyes watching me. I think I brought something back with me. Maybe the curse isn't just about bad luck. Maybe it's a tether, a pull. I've started sleepwalking. I wake up with dirt on my hands and the sound of music in my ears. Last night, I found a carousel horse figurine on my pillow, midnight black, smiling. I've always had a taste for urban exploration. There's something irresistible about forgotten places, dusty time capsules, echoing with the memories of the people who once breathed life into them. But the old Crescent Falls amusement park wasn't just forgotten, it was avoided, especially the funhouse. Locals called it the mirror tomb, said anyone who wandered too deep inside either came out broken or didn't come out at all. I thought it was nonsense. Just another overblown ghost story passed around campfires. So when I found the park's rusted entrance half torn open on a gray October morning, I took it as an invitation. I was alone, of course. I never brought anyone with me on these solo ventures. The best stories are the ones no one else can dispute. The funhouse stood at the far edge of the park, half swallowed by ivy and time. Its garish colors had faded into sickly shades. Red looked rusted, blue was more bruised. A crooked sign above the entrance still clung to life. Laugh your fears away. The irony wasn't lost on me. I stepped inside, flashlight in hand. The air changed instantly, cool, damp, and heavy with rot. The entryway had once been painted with swirling stripes, carnival bright. Now it peeled like sunburned skin. My boots echoed on warped boards as I moved deeper, passing clown-faced doors and limp rubber props. And then the mirrors began. They lined the walls in broken clusters, some warped, some cracked. Most were covered in a filmy grime that refused to wipe clean. As I stepped closer, my reflection jittered unnaturally, almost like the glass was lagging behind reality. I waved my hand. The reflection did too, but a fraction too slow. That should have been my first warning, but I kept going. Around the third bend, the hallway narrowed. I noticed the air had gone still, pressed in, and that smell, sour, like old breath trapped in a coffin. I shook it off and took a few more steps when suddenly, laughter. High-pitched, childlike, but hollow. It wasn't a joyful sound. It was mocking. I froze. "Hello?" I called out, voice cracking more than I'd like to admit. No answer. Then the mirrors changed. At first it was subtle. I'd glance sideways and see my reflection tilt its head when I didn't. One mirror showed me frowning while I knew my face was expressionless. I moved closer to one cracked pane, staring hard at my reflection. It blinked. I didn't. I stumbled back, heart hammering, and that's when I heard it. Whispers, slithering through the walls like smoke. "He sees you," the voices said. "You don't belong here. Turn around." I spun on my heel, intending to leave, but the corridor behind me was gone, replaced by more mirrors. I hadn't turned into another hallway. I knew this place had only one path in. But now, every direction looked the same, mirrors stretching endlessly, reflecting dozens of me, each slightly wrong. Some were smiling, one was weeping, one stood still while I turned and backed away. I chose a direction and ran. The path twisted, narrowed. Lights flickered above, casting me in strobe flashes. I thought I saw someone. No, something, behind one of the mirrors. Tall, pale. Its face, it had none. Just smooth, blank skin stretched where features should be. The mirrors vibrated as I passed, like something on the other side was knocking. Harder, louder. I reached what looked like a small room, and for a breathless moment, I thought I'd found the exit. Instead, I found her. In the center of the room was a girl, no more than 8, dressed in an old-fashioned carnival outfit, ruffles caked in grime, black curls matted to her forehead. She faced away from me, rocking slowly. "Are you lost?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She stopped. The silence that followed felt endless. Then her head turned. Just her head, farther than a human neck should ever turn, until her chin rested on her shoulder, and those wide, dark eyes met mine. She grinned, and it was the grin of something wearing a child's skin. "You shouldn't be here," she said sweetly. I backed up, but the mirrors were shifting again. This time they showed me things I hadn't seen, couldn't have seen. Me, standing still in that room while hands crawled out of the mirrors and gripped my shoulders. Another reflection showed me screaming, but no sound coming out. And one showed me not moving at all, just standing there. Empty-eyed. Hollow. Like I belonged there. I ran. No path made sense anymore. It was like the funhouse had swallowed me. My flashlight flickered and died. The air was cold now, unnaturally so. I could feel breath on my neck, fingers brushing my back as I stumbled through endless corridors of glass and whispering voices. When I finally burst through the exit, the sun had dropped below the horizon. I collapsed in the gravel, gasping like I hadn't breathed in hours. The silence outside felt deafening. But at least it was safe. I didn't go back for my camera. I didn't go back for anything. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that laughter. And sometimes I catch my reflection staring at me a little too long. I didn't believe in urban legends. I liked them, sure. Used to spend late nights reading about haunted roads and cursed videotapes. But believe? No, they were stories. That's what I told myself when I stepped through the crumbling gates of Shady Hill Amusement Park. I was chasing content. My YouTube channel had been flatlining, and haunted exploration was trending. So when I heard about the Vanishing Clown, I packed my gear, grabbed my camera, and ignored the goosebumps that rippled up my arms. The place looked like a skeleton in the fog. Rusting rides loomed like twisted bones. The Ferris wheel creaked in the wind, unmoving. Broken game booths leaned like drunks in an alley. The silence was dense, thick enough to press on my ears. But what unsettled me most was how untouched everything looked, as if the park had just stopped. I started filming immediately. "This is Shady Hill," I said into the lens, trying to keep my voice steady. "Home of the infamous Vanishing Clown. They say he still wanders these grounds, searching for lost laughter." I hated how corny that sounded, but the camera didn't care. They said he was a performer, famous once, known for his joyful act, his kindness to kids. But when the park shut down after several accidents, he never left. His real name was lost to time. People just called him the Clown. I kept walking, narrating as I passed sagging popcorn stands and graffiti-tagged ticket booths. Then, about an hour in, I saw him. Just for a second. At the end of the midway, near the carousel, a tall figure in red and yellow, standing perfectly still, painted white face, smile too wide, staring at me. My heart lurched, but when I blinked, he was gone. I laughed it off. "Got me," I said aloud, though no one was there to hear it. Just a trick of the light, maybe a reflection off some broken glass. But I stopped laughing when I played back the footage. Frame by frame, there he was, just one moment, then gone. No sound, no movement, just standing, watching. I pressed deeper into the park toward the main stage where he used to perform. The theater was decaying, torn curtains fluttered like rotted wings, rows of broken seats stretched into darkness. I walked toward the stage, my boots crunching over glass and damp wood. Then I heard it. Laughter. Not loud, faint, distant, but unmistakable. Children's laughter. I froze. It came again, echoing off the crumbling walls. I panned my flashlight, but the beam only caught dancing dust and shadows. I backed away, heart hammering. That's when I saw him again, closer this time, standing in the aisle between the rows of broken seats. Same painted face, same grotesque grin. This time he waved. I stumbled back, dropping my camera. When I looked up, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just silence. But the air had changed, heavier, sadder, like the park itself had taken a breath. I grabbed the camera and ran. The funhouse loomed ahead, its doors yawning open like a mouth. I didn't want to go in, but something pulled me. Curiosity, maybe, or fear, or him. Inside, the mirrors were cracked. The lights flickered, casting twisted versions of myself in every direction. I turned a corner and found a hallway lined with clown faces painted on the walls. Most were chipped or faded, but one was fresh. Red paint, bright, smiling. Beneath it, written in smeared strokes, "Why did you leave?" I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "I didn't," I whispered. "I never came here as a kid." But something inside me stirred, a memory I didn't recognize. More laughter echoed, closer now, and with it, footsteps, slow, deliberate. I turned and ran again, pushing through warped doors and moldy curtains until I burst into the open. Except it wasn't the exit. I was back on the stage. The theater was full now. Every seat occupied, by clowns, hundreds of them, silent, still, staring up at me with painted eyes. And in the front row, the Vanishing Clown sat smiling. He tilted his head. "You came back," he said. His voice was soft, sad, gentle. "I never belonged here," I said, backing away. He stood. His movements were graceful, almost elegant. His painted tears glistened under the dim lights. "I remember you," he whispered. "You laughed once, a long time ago." And then he vanished, right before my eyes. The seats were empty again, the air still. I bolted from the theater, crashing through overgrown paths until I found the exit gates. Dawn was breaking. I never posted the footage, because when I got home and tried to upload it, the files were corrupted. All of them. Except one photo. A still frame of me, standing on stage, smiling, and in the background, over my shoulder, the clown's face, just before he vanished.